Picture a bustling city street on a gray, drizzly afternoon where the air smells of wet pavement and the faint aroma of coffee from a nearby cafe. People rush by, their umbrellas bobbing like a sea of black and gray, their faces buried in their phones or turned away from the cold. Amidst the crowd, a young black woman in her mid-20s named Layla walks slowly, her shoulders hunched against the rain, her thin coat doing little to keep her warm. Layla's face is drawn with worry, her eyes tired from a sleepless night spent worrying about how she'll pay her rent, buy groceries, and keep the heat on in her tiny apartment. She's a single mother, working 2 jobs, a cashier at a grocery store and a cleaner at a local gym, but the hours have been cut at both, and she's down to her last few dollars. In her pocket, she clutches a single coin, a dollar she found on the sidewalk earlier, her last bit of money until her next paycheck, which is still days away. She's on her way to the store to buy a loaf of bread for her 5-year-old daughter, Maya, who's waiting at home with a neighbor. But as she passes an alley, she notices a figure sitting against the wall, a beggar, wrapped in a tattered blanket, his face hidden beneath a hood. The beggar looks up as Layla approaches, and she sees his eyes, kind but weary, belonging to a man in his late 50s, named Charles, though she doesn't know his name yet. His clothes are ragged, his hands dirty, and a small cardboard sign in front of him reads, "Anything helps." Charles extends a trembling hand, his voice soft but desperate. "Please, miss, can you spare anything? I haven't eaten in days." Layla stops, her heart aching as she looks at him, the weight of her own struggles pressing down on her. She thinks of Maya, of the bread she needs to buy, of the empty fridge waiting at home. But then she looks at Charles again, at the hunger in his eyes, and something inside her shifts. She pulls the coin from her pocket, her last dollar, and places it in his hand, her voice gentle but firm. "It's all I have," she says, "but I hope it helps." Charles looks at the coin, then back at Layla, his eyes filling with gratitude. "Bless you," he says, his voice cracking with emotion. "You're a good soul." Layla smiles weakly, then turns to walk away, her stomach twisting with worry about how she'll feed Maya tonight. But there's a quiet strength in her step, a sense of dignity in her act of kindness that you can't help but admire. As Layla disappears into the crowd, the tension on the street shifts in a different direction. A group of teenagers nearby, huddled under an awning, watch the whole exchange, and they start to snicker, their voices carrying over the sound of the rain. "Did you see that?" One of them, a boy named Tyler, says, his tone mocking. "She gave that bum her last dollar. What an idiot." His friends laugh, their voices growing louder, and one of them, a girl named Sophie, chimes in, "Yeah, she's probably broke too. Look at her coat. Pathetic. People like that deserve to be on the street." The cruelty of their words hangs in the air, their laughter drawing the attention of other passers-by, some of whom smirk in agreement, others who look away but do nothing to stop it. The scene feels unjust, Layla's kindness mocked by those who don't understand her struggle, and you can feel the anger building inside you, the way she's being judged for an act of pure compassion. But Charles, still sitting in the alley, overhears the teenagers, and his expression changes, a flicker of determination crossing his face. He pulls the hood back slightly, revealing a glimpse of a man who's more than he seems, and as he tucks Layla's coin into his pocket, there's a spark in his eyes, a hint of a plan forming that suggests he's not just a beggar after all. A few days later, Layla is at the grocery store where she works, her shift nearing its end, her body aching from standing for hours. She's behind the register, scanning items for a customer, when her manager, a middle-aged woman named Karen, approaches her with a scowl. "Layla, you're short on your till again," Karen says, her her voice sharp and accusing. "This is the third time this month. I'm docking your pay to cover it." Layla's heart sinks, her voice trembling as she tries to explain. "I didn't take anything, I swear," she says. "Maybe it's a mistake. I've been so careful." But Karen isn't interested in excuses. "I don't care," she snaps, her tone cold. "You're lucky I don't fire you on the spot. People like you always have excuses. Maybe if you managed your money better, you wouldn't be in this mess." The words sting, the racial undertone in Karen's voice unmistakable. And the other employees glance over, some whispering to each other, others pretending not to notice. Layla's face burns with humiliation, her hands shaking as she finishes her shift, the weight of her manager's cruelty adding to the burden she's already carrying. She leaves the store, her eyes brimming with tears, and heads home to her apartment, where Maya is waiting, her little face lighting up as Layla walks through the door. But as Layla hugs her daughter, her mind is racing. She doesn't know how she'll make ends meet now, how she'll keep going. Yet there's a quiet resilience in her, a strength that tells you she's not going to give up, even if she doesn't know what's coming next. The next morning, Layla is walking Maya to school, the little girl skipping beside her, when a sleek black car pulls up alongside them, the tinted window rolling down to reveal a man in a tailored suit. It's Charles, but he looks completely different. His tattered clothes are gone, replaced by an expensive outfit, his face clean-shaven, his eyes sharp and focused. Layla doesn't recognize him at first, but Charles smiles, his voice warm but commanding. "Layla, do you remember me?" he asks, stepping out of the car. Layla freezes, her eyes narrowing as she studies him, and then it clicks. The beggar from the alley, the man she gave her last coin to. You're the man I helped," she says, her voice trembling with confusion. Charles nods, his smile widening. "My name is Charles Harrington," he says, "and I'm the CEO of Harrington Enterprises, a company worth millions. I wasn't really a beggar that day. I was testing people, looking for someone with a truly kind heart, someone who'd give, even when they had nothing left. And you, Layla, were the only one who passed that test." Layla's eyes widen, her heart pounding as Charles continues, his voice filled with admiration. "I've been watching you since that day," he says. "I know about your struggles, your jobs, the way people like your manager treat you, and I'm here to change that." He pulls an envelope from his pocket and hands it to her, his tone firm but kind. "This is a job offer, a position at my company as a community outreach coordinator, with a salary that'll take care of you and your daughter. And there's more. I'm giving you a bonus, enough to cover your rent for a year, and I've already spoken to your manager at the grocery store. She's been fired for her behavior, effective immediately." Layla's hands shake as she opens the envelope, her eyes filling with tears as she sees the offer, a six-figure salary, benefits, everything she's ever dreamed of. She looks up at Charles, her voice breaking. "Why me?" she asks. "I don't deserve this. I just did what I thought was right." Charles steps closer, his eyes soft but resolute. "That's exactly why," he says. "You gave when you had nothing to give, and that's the kind of person I want on my team. You're a hero, Layla, even if you don't see it." Back at the grocery store, the news of Karen's firing spreads like wildfire, the employees whispering in shock as a new manager takes over, one who's known for fairness and respect. Karen, meanwhile, is left reeling, her career in tatters after Charles's intervention, her years of bullying employees catching up with her in an instant. She tries to find another job, but word of her behavior has spread, and no one in the industry will touch her, leaving her to take a low-paying job at a fast food chain, her pride shattered. Layla, on the other hand, starts her new role at Harrington Enterprises. Her office, a bright, welcoming space where she works to create programs for the homeless, drawing on her own experiences to make a difference. She moves into a new apartment with Maya, a cozy place with a little garden where her daughter can play, and for the first time in years, Layla feels secure, her future bright. The teenagers who mocked her that day on the street hear about her story through a viral news segment. Poor woman gives last coin to beggar. Turns out he's a millionaire. And they're left stunned. Their earlier cruelty, a bitter memory they can't escape. Some of them, like Tyler, reach out to Layla on social media, apologizing for their words. But Layla doesn't respond. She's too busy building her new life. Her heart focused on the future, not the past. Years later, Layla stands at the opening of a new community center funded by Harrington Enterprises, a place designed to help those in need, from single mothers to the homeless, with resources and support to rebuild their lives. She's invited to cut the ribbon, her daughter Maya by her side, now a bright 10-year-old with her mother's kind eyes. Charles is there too, his smile proud as he watches Layla speak to the crowd, her voice strong and clear. "I used to think kindness was a weakness," she says, her eyes sweeping over the faces before her. "But I learned that kindness is the greatest strength we have. It can change lives, it can open doors, it can remind us of our shared humanity. The center is for everyone who's ever felt invisible, everyone who's ever needed a second chance." The crowd applauds, and Charles pulls Layla into a hug, whispering, "You've made me so proud." Layla smiles, knowing she didn't just change her own life, she changed countless others, proving that even the smallest act of kindness can lead to the greatest rewards. And as you reflect on her story, you can't help but ask yourself, what would the world look like if we all gave a little more, if we all saw the potential in those society overlooks? Layla showed us that justice isn't just about righting wrongs. It's about lifting others up, about turning compassion into action. So as you turn off this video, carry her lesson with you. Never underestimate the power of kindness, because it might just change your life and the world forever.